A boy vanished walking home from school in 2008. The case was shelved as a runaway from a troubled home. 7 years later, a routine inspection of an old basement freezer revealed signs someone had been alive inside it. But the horror wasn't just where he had been kept, it was why he had been kept alive. Jason Turner disappeared on October 3, 2008. He was 9 years old. He left school at 3:11 p.m. and was last seen walking alone down Brookline Avenue. His usual route home took 7 minutes. He never arrived. His backpack was found under a bridge 2 miles away. It was zipped, dry. Inside were his homework folder, a juice box, and a half-eaten granola bar. There were no signs of a struggle. No blood. No witnesses. His mother reported him missing by 4:30. Police responded quickly. An Amber Alert was issued before midnight. The family was questioned. His father had been out of the picture for years. His mother, Carla Turner, had no criminal record. She worked nights at a grocery store and spent her days at home. Detectives searched the house. Nothing unusual, no signs of forced entry, no known enemies. The neighborhood mobilized. Flyers went up on every light pole. Volunteers searched parks, drainage ditches, abandoned buildings. Local media covered the story. A reward fund reached $12,000 within the first week. Tips came in from nearby towns. None led anywhere. One caller claimed to see a boy matching Jason's description at a gas station restroom. Surveillance footage showed nothing. The case stalled. By winter, investigators began shifting their focus. Jason had once told a teacher he wanted to live somewhere warmer. Carla admitted they'd argued 2 nights before his disappearance. She had grounded him for sneaking out past curfew. These details shifted public opinion. Rumors spread that Jason had run away. Child services records from years prior resurfaced. Reports of neglect, missed appointments, empty fridge, all outdated but damaging. In February 2009, the lead detective told a local reporter, off the record, that some kids just go. The case was unofficially downgraded. Resources were pulled. Search efforts faded. Carla refused to stop. She kept his bedroom untouched. She set a plate for him every dinner. She spoke at city council meetings. She begged national programs to cover the story. Most declined. In spring 2010, the case was formally classified as a cold file. No new evidence, no activity. His missing person profile remained in the national database. His photo aged through software every year. It showed him smiling, wearing a red shirt. But behind the scenes, no one was looking anymore. Jason Turner vanished in daylight, in a quiet neighborhood, and no one knew where he went. Doug Myers was 58 years old. He lived alone in a narrow 2-story house on Elm Street, 2 doors down from the Turners. He ran a small butcher shop on the edge of town, the kind with hand-painted signs and dusty front windows. Customers described him as polite, quiet, punctual. No arrests, no complaints. He paid his taxes on time. He didn't drink. He showed up at every neighborhood cleanup, every missing child vigil. He brought food. He helped hang flyers. He hugged Jason's mother when she cried. No one ever thought to look at him twice. His property had been searched in 2008 like every other house within a 10-block radius. Officers knocked. He answered, calm and cooperative. They asked if they could look around. He said yes. The officers walked through the living room, glanced at the kitchen, opened the garage. In the basement, they found a large commercial walk-in freezer. He told them it hadn't worked in years. They believed him. No one opened the freezer. They had no warrant. And Doug Myers was helpful. Over the years, the freezer became invisible. Neighbors knew he used it. They assumed it was for meat. He told people it was for game he processed in winter. Some said it had a special cooling system he built himself. Nobody questioned it. It made sense. He was a butcher. In May 2015, the cooling system broke down. It leaked Freon into the basement and triggered an alarm at the utility company. A city contractor was sent to investigate. He noticed the hum of the backup generator. He followed the cables to the rear of the freezer. The door was sealed from the outside with steel bolts. He forced it open. Inside was not meat. The inner chamber was smaller than the outside shell. Doug had built a second wall, insulated it, and soundproofed it with egg crate foam and industrial tape. Behind that was a 4-foot-high crawl space. It had a bucket, a cot, a shelf of worn children's books, a battery-powered light. There were scratch marks on the metal walls, deep ones. A plastic water jug sat near the entrance. There was a toothbrush, a pair of glasses, and a boy, curled under a thin blanket, eyes wide open, skin pale as frost. Jason Turner had been 3 houses away the whole time. The boy didn't speak at first. When the paramedics found him, he flinched from the light. His skin was nearly translucent. He was barefoot. His ribs showed through his shirt. He didn't ask questions. He didn't cry. When they tried to carry him out, he clung to the doorway of the freezer like it was home. It took 3 hours to convince him to leave. The EMT said his pulse was steady, but his gaze was vacant. He looked at people, but didn't react. He had learned silence. At the hospital, doctors confirmed severe malnutrition, muscle atrophy, chronic vitamin D deficiency, and partial hearing loss. His vocal cords were intact but weak. He had no signs of physical torture, no broken bones, no fresh wounds. But his brain scans showed the patterns of long-term sensory deprivation. They found marks on his ankles from restraints, old scars. He didn't remember his age. He thought it was still 2008. Investigators returned to the basement with full forensic teams. Behind the false wall, they found insulation packed with foam, egg cartons, and soundproof panels. There were layers of industrial tape sealing the edges. The crawl space was no larger than a garden shed. One shelf held plastic tubs labeled by season: winter books, summer books, back-to-school books. There was a battery-powered radio. It was tuned to static. Doug Myers was arrested at 3:27 a.m., 1 hour after the freezer was opened. He didn't resist. He didn't ask why. In the interrogation room, he refused a lawyer. He sat with his hands folded, stared at the floor, and said one sentence: "He was mine." That was all. Detectives recovered handwritten journals in Doug's bedroom, dozens of notebooks. He documented everything: meal schedules, storytime routines, bathing days. His notes were meticulous. He never referred to the boy by name, only the guest. One page read, "Guest silent today. Good." Another read, "Guest tapped twice at 4:13. Training held." There were no photographs, no recordings, just schedules, measurements, and observations. It was methodical, controlled, cold. Jason began speaking again on the 9th day. One word at a time, always in whispers. He didn't use past tense. He spoke like he was still there. When asked why he never screamed, he answered without hesitation. He said the freezer eats sound. Jason was moved to a state trauma unit under a sealed identity. He was assigned a therapist, a nutritionist, and a round-the-clock security detail. For weeks, he ate only soft foods. His voice returned slowly. His speech was flat, monotone. He rarely blinked. When asked what he remembered most, he said the cold. He said he counted the times the light went off. He said there were rules. Don't move when it's dark. Don't speak when it's Sunday. Don't cry if you want the books. His mother collapsed when they told her. She hadn't left town in 7 years. She kept his room untouched. She lit a candle every morning. The reunion was filmed by investigators for documentation, but it was never released to the public. She touched his hand like it might disappear. He didn't hug her back. He looked over her shoulder at the hospital window and asked what year it was. Doug Myers never stood trial. 6 days after his arrest, he was found dead in his holding cell. The official report listed suicide by asphyxiation. There was no note, no final words, just silence. The warden later admitted that Myers had been held without cameras due to a processing error. No one noticed until it was too late. The town turned on itself. Neighbors gave statements about things they remembered too late. A delivery driver once heard a knock from the basement. A meter reader smelled ammonia. Someone thought they saw a child's face in the window and brushed it off as imagination. Everyone had a memory. No one had acted. The butcher shop was shut down. The house was boarded up. Protesters gathered outside for weeks. Candles, flowers, signs. Someone spray-painted the word "monster" across the front door. It stayed there until the city demolished the property. Jason was placed in protective custody and moved out of state. He chose a new name. He doesn't speak to the press. He doesn't attend interviews. He has no public profile. What little is known comes from a statement issued by his lawyer. It said he sleeps with the lights on. He does not open doors unless someone knocks twice. He asks for heavy blankets, even in summer. And he does not like the sound of freezers.